Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
Welcome everybody to High School Basketball Weekly. Tim Morey alongside of my broadcast sidekick Rick Bua. And Rick, this was a week punctuated by big games and cancellations due to COVID.
Yeah, it kind of hit home now, Tim. You know, the last couple of shows, we've been talking about the postponements of some of these games and basically saying, don't worry, folks, it's not our kids here. It's not too bad in the schools in the Berkshires. It's basically over the valley. It's in Springfield. That's the reason for the postponements. It started with McCann Tech boys right off the get-go, and the other schools have been pretty much unscathed. Unfortunately, now it has hit us locally.
And it's pretty fair to say that all the schools have been touched one way or another by cancellations and postponements. But in any event, we're going to try to recap this past week's activities, and we're going to start right off with the boys' action and get right to Hoosick Valley. Rick, they now are 4-1, and courtesy of a nice victory over East Hampton. Yeah,
they took down East Hampton in Cheshire 73-62. As I mentioned last week, Hoosick is on a homestand, we'll call it. It's great to have your games, in Cheshire, especially early in the season as your team is still growing. They're still practicing, they're still getting better. And if you don't have to go on the road for a while, that's great. You may not win them all, but you're going to have a great record. They've always historically played really, really well at home. They knocked off East Hampton 73-62. Another huge game for Coach Robinson's two typically high scores. That, of course, that's senior point guard Carson Meswar and sophomore Frank Field, each with 22. And here's what I like, and I'm sure the coach will agree with me. When you're getting balanced scoring and you're getting that 20 plus, and again, Tim, we talked about this last week. You don't know how long that's going to continue. It may not go on forever. But when you get some other kids contributing double figures, like Joey McGovern, the sophomore, and Caleb Harrington, each with 10, that's hard to stop. And any night you're gonna win a ball game when you got four kids scoring like they did.
Well, when you can go into the game figuring you got two players that get you close to 40 points in high school basketball, that's certainly a luxury, and that's where Hoosick Valley is right now. And talking about Hoosick Valley, we want to welcome to High School Basketball Weekly once again the head coach of the Hurricanes, head coach Bill Robinson. Coach, thank you very much for joining us here on High School Basketball Weekly. We're just absolutely thrilled to have you here to talk a little high school hoops and specifically about your squad that's off to a pretty good start here at 4-1.
Yeah, like Rick mentioned, a lot of our games have been at home, Tim, and I wish we were playing on the road, to be honest with you. I'd rather play on the road. But, it's at least the travel's not too bad yet, so that's a good thing. I only have to travel up to 116, and it's only about a 7-minute drive for me, so it's not too bad.
Obviously, overriding all of this high school action is the COVID pandemic and its impact on high school sports, and we're starting to see some cancellations. How have you guys been dealing with that at Hoosick Valley? I know you lost one game so far to Renaissance.
Yeah, we lost our Renaissance game last week, the 28th of December, so we didn't have a game at all last week, and we had some sporadic practices. I really was concerned about the holiday and people getting together, so I tried to plan around it a little bit, give the kids a couple days off. It's something different, I'll tell you that. You have to add that into the mix now, and about practice and guys, if they're not feeling well and what they have to do and the process, the protocols of the schools. I just want to coach basketball. Right. I don't want to be a medical director,
Right.
Just let me coach and I'll be happy. But there's way too much going on today than just coaching, unfortunately. And it's really a drag, to be quite honest with you. It's worse now than it was last year.
Right. But so let's get back to the basketball action. We've watched Hoosick Valley. We've commented on this show, and we talked a little bit about really your two big wheels here, Carson Meswar and Frank Field. From a high school basketball standpoint, Coach, how important is it, or how much of a luxury is it to have a player like Carson Meswar, who's really your point guard too, having his hands on the ball, with the ball in his hands at such important times of the game. It must be a source of comfort to you to know that he's going to have his hands on the rock.
Well, if you can reduce the number of turnovers he has, that'd be awesome. It goes both ways. Sometimes I don't want the ball in his hands. I'd rather have him coming off a screen or something. But senior leadership is what we get out of him, and the kid's a competitor. First and foremost, he's a competitor, and that's what we need, especially out of your point guard. Both ends of the floor, he's going to compete. He's going to give it to you every night of the week. And he'll take a few bad shots, he'll make a few bad passes, but you live with it because he gives you so much more in other areas.
Coach, this will be the first season. We've talked about it a lot. You haven't even experienced yet, so it's going to be hard to talk about. But, you were in the North in Berkshire County forever. And I know Coach Reset liked to stay there and compete against you in Wacona, Taconic, and PHS. And that's now all in the past. So how much will you miss that? And how do you think you're set up in your league? It looks very balanced. There's some good teams in that league.
You start with Bay State, very good, athletic, fast, loaded with seniors. Then you have Wacona, who's undefeated right now, and looks like a real strong team. They're always good. Monument Mountain, who we beat earlier in the year, is a real good team. And then, I haven't seen South Hadley much yet. I don't know what their record is. Really haven't done my due diligence on them. I have to start looking for something. We have them next week. East Hampton, is a little down. And Palmer, who we have Thursday, was a little down. But they have one nice player, this kid Latendre. He's averaging, I think, close to 30 points a night. And he's legit, gets to the foul line. He doesn't miss a foul shot. So it's a little different. You don't get that hardcore defense every night of the week. We're averaging somewhere in the neighborhood of 67 points a game. So that's a little high inflated, I think. But we're also giving up, 100 a game. So we're not doing our part in the other end yet. We really have to find ourselves on that end. So, but I miss the rivalries. I miss the battles. I miss going to even the Lennoxes and the Lees, and I miss the Mount Graylocks, of course, and of course the Drurys. We're fortunate to have Monument Wacona in our league, so we get a little bit of taste of it, but it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We've commented on it. I mean, for instance, this year it looks like we're going to have a whale of a game between Hoosick Valley and Drury on January 22nd. That's the only time you play the Blue Devils in the regular season, and I'm sure that's going to be a real treat, not only for the fans, but I think it's got to be a highlight for the players too in high school to play their arch rival in a basketball game.
Yeah, it doesn't mean as much as it did in the past, but still, you get in that gym, I'm sure it'll be as packed as it can be with COVID, and I know both teams will be playing at their absolute best and or worst, because we bring out the worst in our game sometimes. But it's going to be a competitive game, hopefully, and it's a good treat for the fans that night. It's $5 to get in,
right.
$3 for students. Why wouldn't you go? It's a great night. It's a great night seeing two teams battle, and for high school basketball, you don't get much better than that.
And hopefully, if the game takes place, they can if they can't make it, which I would recommend that they do, they can always watch it live right here on Channel 1302. We'll be covering that game. Got a lot of things planned for that one on January 22nd at 7:30. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, Coach, it seems like early in the season, your other outstanding sophomore, Frank Field, got off to kind of a slow start, but he seems to be rounding into shape a little bit here.
Yeah, he's done a nice job. I just ran some early season stats, and he's got what the college and pro coaches call the 180 rule, which is something that everybody wants to strive for. never had anybody close to it, but that's shoot 60% from the floor, the 2-point range, the 3-point range, and the foul line. And right now, Frank is doing that. He's at 60% basically at all 3 levels. So he's right at that 180-degree mark, and that's pretty impressive for a sophomore. But, like I said, we got some tough games coming. We got Drury and Greylock and Wahconah coming up, and we'll see what he does in those games, because those are the games we're going to need him. So.
Well, hopefully, Coach, you continue to get the games in. Of course, as we indicated, we're going to be there on January 10th, Monday, January 10th. We'll be covering it, your game against South Hadley. That should be a good game against South Hadley. You've had some great ones over the years with them, and we're going to be happy to be up there and seeing it. And God willing, we'll get these games in without too much disruption due to the pandemic.
That's Tim, if I were you guys, I'd call every local school we could here, to the Drurys and the Huzicks and even, the McCanns. And I would just offer your services, boy. You guys could really be a great conduit to the community. So if they can't get there because they're going to be, fans will be locked out, you ought to really push that Northern Berkshire Television can get in and bring those games live so people don't miss, because it's a treat. It's a treat to see these kids play. So I give you guys a lot of credit, and I hope those ADs and those principals let you guys into gyms if this thing gets a little worse, and you guys can bring the action to everybody at home.
Well, we're going to try, Coach. We really appreciate your support over the years, and we appreciate the public service announcement. We'll wish you the best of luck as the season goes along. I'm sure we're going to be talking to you before too long, and of course we'll be covering your action as much as we can. So thanks again for joining us here on High School Basketball Weekly, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Take care,
your
Coach.
work.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you and your family.
That's head coach
Thanks,
Bill
Rick.
Robinson of the Hoosick Valley Hurricanes, and he said it well, Rick. There's a place for coverage by hopefully by Northern Berkshire Community Television. They do a great job bringing the action to the fans, and we might be able to fill in the hole, so to speak.
Yeah, it would be great, Tim. Yeah, it would be great. It happened very, very quickly, but the North Adams Public Schools had made an announcement on New Year's Day that they would be structuring the admittance into athletic events to 2 people per player, at least on the basketball side. I'm not sure about the hockey side, but then COVID hit the school, and we weren't able to get up to do the Hopkins Drury boys game, and hopefully that game has been rescheduled to February, and hopefully we can get up there and do it at that time. But if we're allowed in and we're safe, then we'll do the best we very can to bring these ball games to the local community and our fans.
Right. Well, continuing on, Rick, with some of this high school action over the past week, the Blue Devils, and I thought was a big game for them, and really in Berkshire County action. They had a game against the Wahconah Warriors.
Yeah, Drury suffered their second loss, Tim, at home to Wahconah, 56-43. It was a fairly low-scoring game for most of it. Wahconah actually broke away in the fourth quarter, scored probably 20 points or so in the fourth quarter, but Wahconah led after one by, I think, 7 or 8 points. Drury tied it at 18 at halftime and was still close after 3. Going into the fourth, and then Wahconah broke away. But, of course, we weren't there to do the game. I didn't see the game, did read a little bit about the game. And, the one thing we talk about, as long as Dustin Pelcher's coach, they play that real tight zone defense. Right. And I'm assuming that Coach Rissette's team struggled either to penetrate, to get inside the paint, or maybe on their outside shooting. I'm not sure. I know in some comments Coach made post-game, he just feel like the kids did not play their best basketball and weren't as ready as he wanted them to be, and guaranteed that they were going to be ready for the next game. We just don't know when that next game is. But Drury has 2 losses to 2 very good teams, Monument Mountain and Wahconah. And I said that before, Tim, on this show, that you throw Drury and Hoosick along with Wahconah and Monument in a hat, and you have these teams play one another. They knock each other off. They mirror one another in many, many ways. But Drury's still 5-2. They're 3-0 in their league, and they're in very, very good shape. It's just a question now of them getting healthy and getting back on the schedule again.
Right. No question about that. The Mount Greylock Mounties they had some cancellations, but they also were able to get a game in against Mount Everett.
Yeah, they had a game against Monument that was postponed, Tim, but then they did take care of Mount Everett 67-43. Chase Doyle led the way with 24 points. He's the only Mountie right now for Coach Thistle, averaging double figures at almost 11 a game. But they're back to 500 at 2-2, and Max McAllister also had 18 in that game, and they host Athol on January 6th. That'll be their next contest.
Right. McCann Tech Hornets, Rick. They started off slow, but here they are. They're now 3-2.
Yeah, they started out, Tim, the beginning of the season, right away, right after the Jamboree. They played in the Franklin County Tech tournament and lost 2 games. They lost to Ware by 2 and Franklin Tech by 10, and really struggled to score in the Franklin Tech game. But they've come back. They're actually 3-2 now. They won 2 games during the week. They knocked off Pathfinder 58-31. They broke up in a close game by outscoring Pathfinder 37-12 in the second half. Owen Gagney led the way with 17, and Jake Howland had 13. And then they won their second straight by beating Pioneer Valley Christian just the other day, 62-26. Jake Howland with 18, and Owen Gagney and Jack Dolan each with 10. And they're off until the 7th when they host Ludlow down at McCann.
And we talked about McCann. We've alluded to it several times in this broadcast. This is a team, they'll compete in their league, and they're showing right away that they can do that. They stand at 3-2, and I think their prospects for a winning season are very bright, Rick.
Yeah, they are, and they are in the right league. They do a couple crossovers with probably Smith Volk or Westfield Tech or whatever, but they're in a very a league that they're suited for in the Tri-County, one of the Tri-Counties, to the north or the south. Coach Bullitt will have his kids ready. He's got some seniors, not a lot of experience. That's the thing. Owen Gagney, the only senior that really has experience other than that, Jake Howland, that we just mentioned, really playing good basketball. He's only a sophomore, and they're going to be okay.
And when you're talking about Jake Howland, Rick, he's our boys high school player of the week. Jake Howland, just a sophomore, Rick.
Yeah, as I said, 18 against Pioneer Valley Christian, 13 against Pathfinder. And very impressed with him. Had never seen him play before. Of course, last year, as a first year, McCann did not have basketball with the pandemic. And we got to see Jake play in the Jamboree up at Hoosick Valley a few weeks ago. I was very impressed. And great ball handler. And we say this time in and time out. When you have a kid that can handle the basketball and you feel comfortable with that young man or young lady having the ball in their hands, you can go a long way. So congratulations to sophomore Jake Howland of McCann Tech.
Absolutely. And when we have a moment, we'll talk about another team, Rick, in Berkshire County that we're going to watch a little bit as the season goes on. That's the Taconic Braves. They don't play in the same league as Drury and Hoosick Valley during the regular season, but they are classified, because they're a vocational school, as a Division V team. They stand at 4-1, so it looks like they're going to cruise along and make it to the tournament. But this is a team that both Drury and Hoosick Valley will have to take a look at, because they're going to be in the Division V tournament, no question about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they play, Tim, in the Valley League. And the old traditional Valley League, as you know, they also have Pittsfield in there with them. But they're in with schools like Longmeadow, East Longmeadow, Chicopee Comp, Agawam, Northampton, the larger schools in Western Mass. And so Coach Heafy's team, even though they're classified as a D5, where they're going to make some huge noise come February and March, they're playing up, we call it, and they're getting the best competition in Western Mass. That's just going to make them better. They just destroyed Chicopee Comp 92-37 this week. 5 different scores, all in double figures, led as usual by Sean Harrigan. He had 20. He's averaging 17.5 points a game. And they did have one game against Amherst that was postponed, and they would be at SciTech. That's a big game for them, Tim, because they lost to SciTech at home. So now they got to go on the road. That was their only blemish so far this season. They're going to want that one back.
Switching gears now, Rick, to the girls' side of the action. It seems like the girls had more cancellations and postponements due to COVID than the boys did. And you're looking specifically at some of these teams. McCann Tech, for instance, they their game at Cy Tech was postponed as all the Springfield schools postponed their games for the time being. They're on a pause. So they still stand at 1-2, and it's got to be a little bit of a little bit frustrating for Coach Kathy Budai that at this point in the season, McKean Tech has only played 3 games.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Coach Budai since the Jamboree, Tim, but I did get a chance outside of basketball to talk to senior point guard Izzy Lacasse, the outstanding young lady from the Hornets. And she's very frustrated because they're practicing. It's just that when COVID hit over the mountain with the teams that they play, all they got to do was practice, and they're just chomping at the bit to get at the games. That's why you're seeing a lot of teams that have already played 7 or 8 games, while others, as you just mentioned, have only played 3. So
Right.
it's been really, really tough because these kids can only practice for so long against one another, and they need to get out there and get some competition. And hopefully the Lady Hornets will be back very, very soon, and they're scheduled to host Athol.
Right. And another team, the Drury Blue Devils. The Lady Blue Devils had, I believe, both of their games postponed that were scheduled over the past week. So they're still stuck at having played 5 games. They're 3-2, but they just have not had any games played since we last talked.
Right. They last played against Hoosick Valley at home. That's a game that you and John Bird covered well over a week ago now, and we talked about it on last week's program, and they have not played either. So Coach Downey's team was practicing. Not sure what the status is now with the postponements. Those postponements are based on the Drury players right now too, boys and girls. So we don't have a lot of details. We don't need details. We just know that Drury basketball was postponed for at least this week, and possibly the next week. We're going to have to wait and see. The game against Ludlow that was postponed on the 4th has already been rescheduled. The game on the 7th against Mount Greylock has been postponed. That has not been rescheduled yet. And so they're scheduled to take on Agawam on the 10th. That'll be their next contest, pending the kids feeling okay.
Well, as you said, like Mount Greylock, the Lady Mounties, their game at Drury has been postponed, and they also had a game scheduled next week at Springfield ICS because Springfield School, that's already been postponed. They did get a game against Agawam, and that was a real close ball game.
Yeah, this is a tougher for Coach Jacoby's team because they went to Agawam and they played a very good team, a very big school, and they only lost 32-30. So that's a tough one. It doesn't matter what the final score is. It either goes in the win column or it goes in the loss column. And Coach Jacoby would probably tell you that at the periods of that game, he thought he had it for sure. They actually were leading. The Lady Mounts were leading, Tim, 22-20 after 3, and just outscored just a little bit in the fourth quarter, just fell a little bit shy. So they stand at 1-3. They were led again by Charlotte Cootie with 11. She's averaging 14 a game. So as you said, the game against Drury was postponed, and also in Springfield, the International Charter School game has been postponed. It's going to be a while, I think, before Greylock plays again.
Hoosick Valley only got 1 game in, but quite a game it was. I actually went to see that game in person. It was Hoosick Valley taking on another outstanding girls program from Berkshire County, the Taconic Braves, and that was a dandy.
Well, the Hurricanes, Tim, as you say, now they stand at 5-1 with that only blemish to the Amherst team. They came up to Cheshire and knocked them off a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, this was a big game. Now, so they've beaten Wacona and Taconic, and we talked a little bit earlier, Tim, on our show about the old Berkshire County North and how competitive over the last few years Hoosick was against Taconic and Wacona, where they just knocked each other off.
Right.
Similar to the boys that we were talking about a short time ago, and this was a nice win for the Hurricanes, winning that game 38-33. Avery McGrath led the way with 16. Avery's still averaging 18.5 points a game, and she's still their leader. She's their leading scorer. She's the girl that they want the ball in her hands at crunch time. And the most important thing, Tim, that I picked up after reading about the game and looking at the stats was the great defensive effort the Hurricanes did on Aaliyah Phillips and Faith Cross, holding them to under double figures, 8 and 7 points. And those two girls scored double figures every game. So when you hold Taconic's 2 leading scorers to 8 and 7, you got a great chance to win the game.
Right. Gabby Billets in that game, Rick, did a great job. She had 8 points in the game. She was the leading rebounder for Hoosick Valley, but she was a defensive stalwart. She really was able to use her size to great advantage in that game and neutralizing Aaliyah Phillips, Faith Cross. It was a real battle of some of the premier bigs in Berkshire County girls basketball, and it was quite a tussle between those players.
And the thing with Gabby is she's going to give you that 7 to 10 every night. She's going to give you doubles and rebounds, and she's going to block shots. And her biggest competition this year will be against other bigs like in Amherst. And so, they've already played, and when that game comes up again shortly, and it's coming up very soon, they'll be ready for it. But she does add a lot of value, and she's doing really well. She struggles at times to get up and down that court with that injury from last year,
right.
But she's doing okay. She's wearing that knee brace, and it's keeping her out there. And I'm sure Coach McGovern is very appreciative that Gabby's out on the floor as much as she is.
No question about it. And of course, our high school girls Player of the Week. Once again, second time this year, Avery McGrath. She came up big in that game against Taconic, Rick.
Yeah, she did. She's their leading scorer, and your leading scorer needs to come through. As Coach Robinson said earlier tonight, when it comes to sophomore Frank Field, he's hoping that Frank can step in the spotlight in the games that they need him, and Avery does that. But she just didn't do it as a senior this year, Tim. She did it last year, and she did it as a sophomore. She added a tremendous amount of value off the bench as a sophomore with that state title. Congratulations to Avery.
Right, no question about it. And of course, looking down the road, you're talking about Wacona. They've had such a great run over the last 2+ seasons as well, Rick. They stand at 44-6, and they're an outstanding basketball team. That's going to be quite a rematch when Hoosick Valley travels to Wacona. That'll be on January 20th down in Dalton. That should be a great game between those two fine programs.
That's going to be a tremendous ball game. It's going to be close. You can guarantee it's going to be a close ball game. Almost all of them are. The margin was a little wider last year. That was a little bit different. But generally, when Coach K gets her team to Hoosick Valley, whether it was Coach Wojak or Coach McGovern, it's going to be a great ball game. And you mentioned, Tim, that's pretty incredible. The Wacona's 44-6 over the last two and a quarter seasons. And ever since that opening night loss in Cheshire, they've racked off 7 consecutive wins. Their 6th one was against West Springfield, 53-30, and their 7th was against Taconic, 54-49 in a real close ball game in Dalton.
Right.
And they are led every game in and out by Olivia Gambaroni and Grace Wigginton.
Right.
They're a 1-2 punch. Wigginton is averaging 16-8. Gambaroni 16-2. So we've got so many 1-2 punches in Berkshire County in the teams we cover, Tim. Whether it's Carson Meswin or Frank Field, or it's a Ben Moulton and a Louis Gelati. They're all over the place. They're
right.
when you have those kids that have that 1-2 down at Wacona. So it goes on and on.
And we're keeping our fingers crossed, Rick. We got some high school basketball action. Our game of the week, Pioneer versus Drury. This has kind of developed into a rivalry over the last couple of years, and that should be a dandy up at Drury High School on Tuesday, January 11th.
Yeah, these two teams have played regular season games, but moreover, the games you want to really talk about are the Western Mass games down at the Curry Hicks Cage. Pioneer has broken Drury's heart before. Drury's broken Pioneer's heart before. They've played some very, very good close ball games. They mirror each other. Great coaches, great programs, and it's going to be a real good one at the Buckyball Gym.
And of course, you can see us here, High School Basketball Weekly, every Thursday night at 7:30, every Saturday at 10 o'clock, and Sunday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 1302, which Tim Morey and Rick Bua. That's going to do it for this week in High School Basketball Weekly, everybody. We're keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to get through this pandemic and avoid too many cancellations. For my broadcast sidekick, Rick Bua, I'm Tim Morey saying see you next week.